Third chapter of John. It's a very familiar passage. Like my old pastor that I came from under at my other church, he preached on this when he first came. Preached a little differently though, but I'll do my best. Amen. John 3:16 reads, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." I want to take from this just a brief subject, and I just want to talk about when God was at his best. When God was at his best. Okay, he's putting that in front of me. That's it. Let me see it. When God was at his best. Now I know some of you probably got on your mind, well, God has been good and he's good all the time. But I just want to look from the passage that there are times that God with us are better than at other times. Yeah. And if you were to be honest with yourself, there were times not only did you think God was not as good, but you thought he was against you. Some theologians, though, when we start looking at when God was at his best, would first say it was coming from Genesis 1:1. And you know what that says. It says, in the beginning was heaven and the earth. And when we look at the heavens, we know that the heavens is something that we can marvel at. It's something that is spectacular. It's something that really just brand new. It has all kinds of stuff out in it they call planets and firmaments and the moon and the stars. And when you look at it, you have to say, when God made that, and you know it all came into being with God just speaking, that, you know, we have to say God was at his best when he made the heavens. He made Pluto and Saturn and all these others. And when you go around and you look, and when they've seen that, when they've gone and looked at one, and then they say, well, when they look behind that planet, there's other space out there. So they say, good gracious alive, when does heaven end? It doesn't. It's an infinite heaven that he's made, so we have to be mindful of that, and such the honest of it put you in the position of saying God had to be. He had to be at his best when he did that. And when we look at the world, the earth itself, and we know that the earth was made by God. He spoke and it came into being, and all of the things that's within it. And then when we look at the earth, we start thinking about how marvelous God is. When he made the earth, how beautiful the earth is. And I know some of you may not have gone any further than from Texas. But I want to let you know that the earth is a beautiful place. Now, they got some places that are kind of rough. But, you know, when you start looking at over on the coast of Florida, and when you start looking on the coast of LA, and when you start, and that's just in the United States, or you go in the mountains of Colorado when it snows and shed, and you know, the earth is beautiful. And you say, when God made that, he had to be at his best. I want to let you know, no, it's a little different than that. And so when I started thinking about that, it says that when we look in that same chapter, the 27th verse, it says, and God made man and woman. And I said, oh, God was really something, because when he made man, don't you know he made something? Don't you know what you're made out of? You have over 600 muscles. I know most of you think you're sweet, but you have over 600 muscles in you. And he's given you a brain that's above all the other animals. He's got and given you skin that's on most of your body. That's the heaviest part of your body is your skin. Don't you know your skin comes in 3 layers? I'll let Sister Monica tell you all about that. I I won't give you the name of the 3 layers, but it tells us that man is something else. Don't you know when God made you, he gave you all kind of systems inside of you? He give you, and I was looking at my favorite guy there, he give you all kind of systems, nervous systems, circular systems, respiratory systems, and all other kind of systems, made up of man. And when you think somebody can make a man like that, back a while back, they made what's called a $6 million man. But even the $6 billion man couldn't touch what God had done. And he couldn't, because God gave man feeling and emotions and all of this. And when you start looking at it, and I started thinking about how when God at his best is when he made man. I can't say he was that. And then I said, well, when was God at his best? And I started looking back historically. And I'm a student of the Bible. I'm not no expert, but I started thinking about the deliverance of the children of Israel out of Egypt. And I said, God was at his best then, wasn't he? Oh, yeah. And it tells me that from a burning bush, he spoke to Moses, and he told Moses, he said, I want you to go and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. Right. And then Pharaoh, quite naturally being hard-headed and hard-hearted, basically said, no, I'm not going to let your people go. And it says after several attempts, about 10 of them, and say, God on that last attempt told him, if you don't do it, I'm going to kill your firstborn. I said, now that's awesome of God. He had to be at his best then. It says, though, that Pharaoh didn't do it, and Pharaoh ended up had frogs in his bed, and lice that was more increased than the sands of the shores of the Mediterranean out back there. And it says that he had done all of this. And then God moved on him, and he let the children leave. Now, keep in mind, they went down into Egypt, about 70 people. When they came out, it was about 2 million plus. And it showed that God led those out. And it said he led them as far as the Red Sea. When they got to the Red Sea, quite naturally, they couldn't swim, couldn't get across it or whatever. But what God does, God put some type of climate in the back that caused the enemies to slow down. And what he did is he breathed upon the water, and the water hemorrhaged up. And it basically stood from side to side. And somehow or another, with his breath, he breathed, and it became dry land. So his people were able to walk across on dry land. And it says that when they walked across on dry land, as soon as they got over, God then sneezed, and the water goes back over on the army of Pharaoh. Pharaoh had put together 600 of his finest chariots, all the chariots of his men, and he had come all the way down there to get these people that was for God's people. But God said, no, I'm not going to let you do that. Quite naturally. You can see how bad God was. Was he at his best? I'll say no. And then if we move on up a little further, and I try not to bore you. Go ahead, Pastor. It tells me that as he came on down, we come up to our scripture for today. I know some of you were wondering, when is he going to come to the scripture for today? And it says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Now, I don't know about y'all, but there are some people be around talking about there are other sons that God has. In fact, Louis Farrakhan said that he is a Jesus. You have other individuals that basically say they are sons of God. Well, in my day and in my schooling, when they say only, that means one. And so I just want y'all to know, I don't care what you hear, what they say or whatever, there was only one Son of God, begotten of God. And we are adopted. And I'm glad I've been adopted. Yeah, Lord, thank you. You've been adopted. Thank you, Jesus. So we need to just be mindful that he's basically adopted us. And it's men and women. He's adopted us as his children. And so we just need to be thankful for that. And when I started looking at that, but God looked down on sinful earth. Yeah, he did. And y'all think we bad now. It was just as bad back then. Yeah, Lord. It's just that now what we can do because of the education that we have, we can justify the wrong that we do. Well, we try, we try to justify the wrong. We can justify it to ourselves. God just turned his head quite naturally. But you know, we try to, and we can justify because of the education that we have. We can justify any wrong that we want to do, even if it's sin, if it's just wrong, it's wrong. And so when we start looking at that, it tells me then that when all of this basically took place, God he was basically looking at it, and he could have just stepped right in, but he didn't. And it tells me then that when God basically took it, came back, and he basically shared with them that I don't like this now. I thought about this, and back out in the wilderness out there, don't you know that when they came up, God let them come over, the first thing they start saying was, God, give us something to drink. God basically had a tree thrown into the water, they became sweet, and they drunk, and then they said, we need something to eat, and God basically turned around and had bread to come down from heaven, and all of that, and you know, they're a lot like us, and they start saying, we want some meat. Right. And God did, had an oven up in heaven, cooked them some quail, and let it float down, and put them down there, and then they say, okay, we need some more water. And then go out and have a rock to strike, and put water out from a dry rock. And, you know, that all tell me that God had to be at his best doing all of this. He wasn't. He wasn't. And so when I started thinking about that, I said, well, when I look and said he gave his only begotten son. Now, I have 7 daughters and 1 son. I can tell y'all right now, even though me and my son aren't that close, I wouldn't give my son up for none of y'all. Y'all just have to go to hell. All right. You know, but God looking at sinful man as bad as we were, and he agreed to go ahead and let his son become that substitutionary death for substitutionary. I was trying to think of that big word. He became that substitutionary death for us. He became the propitiation of what we were going to be required of God to provide. And God did that even while we were sinners. Christ basically was given for us. Yes. I said, God had to be at his best then. And I said, well, when I think about that, and then I said, well, no, we weren't at his best then. I said, well, maybe when we look at Jesus, the God in Jesus, and I say, you know, the way God came in Jesus, I never would have come that way. First of all, it says Jesus came in through a virgin woman, stayed in her stomach 9 months. And, you know, he did it so smoothly, so quietly that nobody really knew. You know, you and I wouldn't have done it like that. If I'm going to be king of this world, I'm going to be God of this world, I'm going to let people know I'm the king of this world. And I'm going to come down, I'm going to have some. Y'all remember back when Jacob was running from Esau, and he saw stairs coming from heaven and all of that good stuff? I would have had those stairs golden. And on each one of them stairs, I would have had an angel over there, and he would have been saying, holy, 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 as I came down. I would have had trumpets on each floor, basically blowing his horn and letting people know that I was coming. So, you know, I wouldn't have just come in like Jesus did. You know, was he at his best then? You know that he came in, and then when I look at his life, y'all know Jesus was something else. There was none other like Jesus that lived, that walked on this earth. Jesus walked around, he changed water to wine, he spit on eyes, and the blind could see, he had the lame to walk, and he did all of these good things, and he never tooted his own horn. And y'all know I would have been letting everybody know what I was doing. When I started thinking about Jesus, and I said, yeah, surely God was at his best when he gave Jesus. And I said, good gracious alive. But then you say, no. Well, what about at his death? Calvary. You know, we be preaching about a whole lot of things. But you know, preachers have gotten away from preaching about Calvary. You know, but if it had not been for Calvary, you know, you and I wouldn't have no need to be here. And it says on Calvary, basically, you know, that's when all of our sins were washed away. And that's when God basically accepted it. The gift that was given to us, and we just basically bypass Calvary right now. You know, we might sing at the cross, where I first saw the light. We sing that to make ourselves feel good. But the thing about it is, it was Calvary. It was at Calvary that Christ dropped his head between the latches of his shoulders, and he gave up the ghost, and he basically paid for you and I so that we can live with God in heaven. And so when we die, we don't just die and be put in the grave like some people tell you. You know, when I die, I'm not going to be just put in the grave. They're going to put me down there, but I'm going to be with my Father. I'm going to be up in heaven. So it tells me then, what does that tell me? Does that tell me then that he was at his best at Calvary? I tell you right now, it doesn't make any sense. He just died and stayed down there. It wouldn't have done us no good. He had to get up. And it tells me early one Sunday morning. It tells me early one Sunday morning he got up. And when he got up, he had all power in heaven and earth. But one of the other things he conquered. He conquered death. He conquered hell. And when we start looking at that, he conquered the devil. So when we start looking at, was he at his best when he got up on that Sunday morning? No. I don't think he was that bad. He was bad. But he wasn't at his best on that Sunday morning. And so when I started looking at that, I said, well, when was he at his best? Well, when I started thinking about when he was at his best, I say he was at his best. It didn't have nothing to do with the Bible. It had to do with a little boy back in a little town in Louisiana called Bogalusa, 80 miles north of Louisiana, New Orleans, about 500 miles from Dallas. And he basically came to that little boy, a little nappy-headed boy, born to a family of 8. He was the 7th child of the 7th child. You know, didn't have that much. The folks around him didn't have that much, so he wasn't considered poor. And so it says that when God came to him, God saved his soul. And I tell you right now, I'm saved as I can be. When I think about that, he's not making another Jesus. Right. You know, but he's saving people every day. You know, he's just not making them every day. And so we need to just be thankful that he has, and he's just loving us like we've never been loved before. And when I think about that God at his best, where was he when he met you? You know, you in Texas now. It's a country town, you know, of Texas. Well, where did he meet you? Most of y'all not from Texas. Y'all know that? We got a few of y'all from Florida. Most folk in here are not from Forney. You never heard of Forney. But you see, the thing about it is Forney sounds like some kind of fornication. I don't know. That's the only thing I know about Forney. You know, it tells me that when God was at his best, you know, when God was at his oldest member in the church, he's LC quite natural, Sister Alexander, but Brother LC will tell you he's not from Forney. Are you? But I just want us to know that God is at his best is wherever he meets us at. And he changes you, and he saves you, and he makes you a child of God. We just need to be mindful of that's when God is at his best. I don't want to argue with you saying God is good and God is good all the time. That's just a little cliche saying y'all hear. I want you to understand, based on John 3:16, that God basically was his best when he gave his son. He was his best when he gave his son. But when he met you and saved you, and he saved me, that's when he was his best. That's when he was at his best, is when he saved you. Because if you were like me, you would have known that you weren't worth saving. You were basically sinning and enjoying it. And God saved us. And we just need to be mindful of that. God bless and keep you.